Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm beginning my Westworld retrospective with a review of Season 1. I've decided to review this show because its 4th season is currently still airing at the moment, and so I'll have reviews out for each season over the next week or so. So Westworld is a series that revolves around a futuristic theme park called Westworld based on the Wild West. The park is populated by androids known as hosts, most of which act as everyday civilians. The park caters to rich and wealthy guests who indulge in their wildest dreams and fantasies in this particular setting, without any fear of retaliation from the hosts. So before I delve into Season 1, let's take a brief look at the history of the show. So Westworld is an HBO series based on a 1973 science fiction movie of the same name, which I haven't seen. I will probably do that in the future. And to some extent its sequel, Future World. It was created by Jonathan Nolan, the brother of Christopher Nolan, and his wife Lisa Joy. A remake of the original film had been in the works for about 2 decades, and so Nolan and Joy decided to scrap the idea of the remake being a film in favor of it being a TV series because they saw the potential in creating something more ambitious than the original film. Every 2 years a new season premieres, and the show is currently airing its 4th season. The first season was highly acclaimed, the second season was positively received, Season 3 garnered a mixed response for the most part, and the 4th season is receiving moderately positive reviews as well. Although some people argue that the show should have probably ended after Season 1, and I can agree with that, the show definitely peaked there. But it's an amazing start to the show, regardless, and I'm gonna get into why. So first of all, just the concept is such a great selling point. A technologically advanced theme park based on a certain time period. In this case, the Wild West. Now, if only we had a bunch of real-life theme parks like this, but with different time periods and at a reasonable price for the public, of course. The hosts are the equivalent to that of NPCs in video games. NPCs are non-player characters. You know, all the characters who are walking around doing their own thing, and you can interact with some of them and they'll have some dialogue to say. Because they have a certain purpose in Westworld, they are stuck in loops. There's a ton of memorable characters in the show, most of whom are introduced in this first season, and the actors portraying these characters were fantastic all throughout. Firstly, we have Dolores Abernathy, played by Evan Rachel Wood. As a host, she is programmed to be a rancher's daughter, and pretty much the typical damsel in distress. But her journey throughout the season causes her to learn more and more about what the park is and who she is, as something that exists even if she's not necessarily human. Then you have Maeve Millay, played by Thandiwe Newton. Maeve is the Madame of the town of Sweetwater, but her unreconciled memories of a former storyline of hers leads to her becoming self-aware. You have Bernard Lowe, played by Jeffrey Wright. Bernard is in charge of Westworld's programming division. There's Theodore Flood, aka Teddy, played by James Marsden. Teddy is a gunfighter returning to Sweetwater in the hopes of rekindling his relationship with Dolores. There's Ashley Stubbs, played by Luke Hemsworth, the brother of Chris and Liam Hemsworth. Ashley is Westworld's head of security and is tasked with monitoring the interactions between the guests and the hosts, and making sure that the guests aren't harmed in any way by the hosts. One of my favorite characters is Lee Sizemore, played by Simon Quarterman. Lee is Westworld's head of narrative. He's in charge of the storylines and stuff like that. And his artistic nature often aggravates his co-workers. But that's what I like about him. He's a very artsy guy. And an excellent comic relief as well. There's also Hecta Eschaton, played by Rodrigo Centaro. who you may remember from Lost and 300. Hecta is a gang leader who is bent on robbing the Mariposa Hotel in Sweetwater. Then you have the Man in Black, who is the main antagonist of this season, and he's played by Ed Harris. So the Man in Black is a frequent guest at Westworld who has spent years trying to uncover the park's deepest, innermost secrets. Accompanying him is Al Lotso, played by Clifton Collins Jr. Al Lotso is a charming yet dangerous outlaw who maneuvers and negotiates his way throughout Westworld. And Clifton Collins Jr. played this character so well, and I've always found him to be a very underrated actor. You know, I've seen him in stuff like Crank High Voltage and just small appearances in things like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and The Stand, the 2020 version. Oh, and he was also in the 2009 Star Trek reboot, where he played a Romulan. Then you have Charlotte Hale, played by Tessa Thompson. Charlotte is the executive director of the Dallas Destination Board, which is in charge of overseeing Westworld. Let's not forget Jimmy Simpson and his brother-in-law Logan, two guests at Westworld. Jimmy is initially dismissive of the many attractions at Westworld, you know, especially compared to Logan. But as the story progresses, he begins to uncover the true meaning of the overall narrative of Westworld. And last but not least, we have Dr. Robert Ford, the co-founder and director of Westworld, played brilliantly by Anthony Hopkins. You know, any movie or TV series is worth watching just for him sometimes. A lot of people hate Transformers: The Last Knight, which is the 5th Transformers movie in Michael Bay's live-action Transformers franchise, but his performance was one of the best parts of it. So those are pretty much all the major characters. There are a few others, but I'm not really going to get into them because we'll be here all day otherwise. So let's talk about some other stuff. The title sequence is fantastic as well. Each season has its own distinct sequence. I mean, the production values on this show in general are quite exceptional. You know, they spend anywhere between $8 to $10 million per episode if you do the math. And this is another show that is accompanied by music from Ramin Djawadi, the same composer for Prison Break and Game of Thrones. There's a lot of music in here that will stick with you, especially if you're a fan of his. If you like action, this season actually has quite a bit of that, without devolving into an action series. You know, this season nails the balance between visuals, action, story, character development, and so on. There's a lot of deep philosophical themes explored in Westworld, specifically in season 1. You know, free will, creation, and it raises so many questions, you know, who are we, where do we come from, and stuff like that. Kind of like The Matrix in a way, so if you enjoyed The Matrix, then you'll probably enjoy this show. This show is generally a slow burn, and the slow burn aesthetic of it really works in this first season. There are 10 episodes, and they're a little bit over an hour long, except for the finale. The finale is like an hour and 20 minutes, more or less. And speaking of the finale, it tied up everything nicely while also laying the groundwork for season 2. And it ended on a solid cliffhanger, even if the show could have just ended here. And honestly, I don't have any complaints with season 1. It's perfect from start to finish, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, guys. So next time we're going to look at season 2. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Ring the bell. Take care, and I'll see you soon.